Hello lovely people, shall we have a natter and set some bookish goals? I think so.
Sophie Vlogs.
If you are a long-time subscriber, you'll be familiar with my traditional birthday chatty video. However, I have had a bunch of new subscribers this year, so essentially every year on my birthday, or nearabouts, I just like to sit down, do a little like chatty check-in, set myself some goals, assess if I met last year's goals. Normally these goals are just like life goals. This year I am including more like bookish goals. If any of that interests you, do stick around. If you're like, you're not actually talking about books, I'm out of here, that's fine. Have a nice time, watch another video, enjoy your life. It is traditional to have a beverage. This year, I have a really exciting receptacle. A birthday present that I received is this like little teapot teacup set. So I like pull the teapot out and I can pour myself a little green tea with pineapple. This is very exciting. I should say my actual birthday was the 24th, so this is slightly late, but that's because I was doing birthday things. This is going to be way too hot to drink, so I'm just going to let that cool down. So, what I always do is I rewatch last year's video and then I sort of like look back at it and go, did I do any of these things? It was really funny watching last year's video, A, because every time I watch a video from the birthday before, I'm like, oh god, I'm so different. Who is this tiny ginger girl in front of me? And also, it's just really funny because, like, essentially, like, last time I was like, the first half of the year was really bad, the latter half of the year was really good. This has been, like, the opposite year, and we all know why, so I won't go into it, but it is. And last year I was saying that maybe I won't do this next year because I'm moving away from finding goals helpful. Whereas where I am at now, I think goals are something that I'm finding really useful, and I have like active goals that I would like to set myself specifically in regards to my reading, and I would like to then have them recorded so I hold myself accountable. Also, so that I get recommendations, because I have a couple of exploration topics that I would like to explore more reading-wise, and I'm hoping that you might be able to recommend me some good books for them. So, essentially, the only goals I set myself last year was get a hobby. And I mentioned that I bought an embroidery kit, which I still have not finished because I got distracted from embroidery with making pom-poms. So, like, I did get a hobby. I do a bit more crafty stuff, that's fair. At the same time, I was like, oh, I want hobbies other than reading. So the things I'd mentioned at the time is there's a group in Bristol called By Visibility. They do like meetups and stuff, and I was like, maybe I can start going to the meetups. And I also talked about potentially doing volunteering. The reason I couldn't do any of these things back when last year is that because of the it's very boring and mundane, but essentially because of the where my office that I work is located, bus routes not very regular. I used to do very strange hours to fit around my public transport access. At the start of this year, I managed to join a lift share, which meant I was actually working normal hours, which was very refreshing. I was not tired all the time, and I wasn't catching colds. Like, I had like 10 colds between October and January. It was just a constant state of being wiped out. Obviously, I'm no longer doing a lift share. I'm working from home. None of these things are available things right now because, like, obviously those are things which, like, I had to really put a pin in because they're not stuff that is achievable right now. Further down the line, would it be nice to do those things? Yes, yes, yes. However, like, let's go on what's achievable. So, I have split these into life goals and bookish goals. I'll start off with the life goals because there's not many of them, and then I'll just junk into my bookish goals. So my life goals that I would like to set myself, some of these are just very boring, mundane, but like I would hope that by the time I record my next one, they will be done. First of all is that I would really like to move. I know that I'm not the only person who lockdown has made you evaluate your living arrangement. I would really enjoy living in somewhere that has more than like 2 rooms that might also have like a garden and slightly less noisy neighbours. Aren't we all in that position? I know. But even just where I live, I know that I could, if I was not in a centre of a city, I could potentially have those things for the same price that I currently pay. So I would really like to have moved by next year. I would like to have started driving lessons. I've mentioned this like 3 years in a row. you know, not really super keen on taking public transport too much at the moment, and it would be really convenient if I could drive. That does mean buying a car, because we don't have a car anymore. But, you know, just some topics there, like some adulty grown-uppy things that maybe now that I'm 27, I probably should be able to achieve. I would also like to continue doing my yoga, doing my weights, taking screen breaks so that I don't destroy my eyes, and all of that sort of thing. Those are my boring, mundane things. Onto some more exciting book goals. So, the last few months, essentially since just before lockdown, I had already started this before lockdown happened, but I essentially went on a loose book buying ban. Not like a proper, I'm not allowed to buy anything, blah, blah, but like, I did most of my book shopping from like second-hand bookshops or charity shops or like little independent places, and if I'm not physically able to go to those anymore, then I sort of took the view that I wouldn't replace that with online book buying just yet. And I've spent the last 4 months reading up my shelves, which I have done very well, I think. I've essentially, I had like 3 boxes of unread books, and I now have 1 box of unread books and a little table which has some towers forming, which is better. So I have really read down what I own, and it's been really exciting because I don't think it's like big-headed to be like, I have a slightly eclectic book taste insofar as like, I tend to dip my toes into many different genres. I'm not very good at like committing to like, I only read this type of book. And I have no problem, like, there's nothing wrong with just knowing the genre that you like and reading the genre that you like. It's just, I think I'm a little bit of a magpie. And if I read too much of one thing for a while, I get a bit bored and I get a bit itchy to like, try something completely different. So reading through my book boxes has been interesting because I've been sort of like wildly jumping between genres, which you might be like, Sophie, that probably doesn't help your channel have a wide appeal. But when was this channel ever about having a wide appeal? No, this is like a little flaily internet book club. So in many ways, reading through my shelves has been really interesting and exciting. One thing that it has made me realise is certain pockets or topics that are topics that I really like and I really enjoy reading about. Obviously, if I'm not buying books, once I have read those books that cover those topics, they're done. So there are certain genres and themes and stuff which I've been like looking through the books that are left and going, don't we have any of those? And so I think a general aim I'm setting myself going forward is I would like to be more purposeful about my book buying. So I have a tendency to impulse buy in secondhand shops and like do the little magpie routine, pick up anything that looks interesting and go for it. What that does mean is that oftentimes I might just end up with a bunch of books that I've never really heard of before, but they sound interesting to me. But then all of these books which I've filed away as I want to read these books, yes, if they're not in the secondhand shop, then I just don't buy them, and therefore I don't read them. I'm planning on being more purposeful with my book buying and making sure that I am financially supporting the types of authors that I would like to financially support. Also, buying from independent bookshops. I do this mainly anyway. My birthday was the point that I set myself that I'm now allowed to buy books again. Not a huge number, but like, you know, keep it topped up because I do read a lot. But all of these book buying I'm doing and making sure that I'm doing it from like independent bookshops and stuff because I want to put my money where my mouth is, essentially. This is like my aim in all walks of my life with just like my purchasing habits, the activism that I choose to support, stuff like that. Like, I'm by no means, I'm not swimming in the monies. I work in publishing. It's not a very well paying place. But like, at the same time, what finances I have, I want to make sure that I'm not just like throwing them around willy-nilly, that I'm making purposeful consuming decisions. Yes, have some tea. Support independent creators. Oh yeah, just support independent creators in general, not just across books, but also like, I haven't really been shopping very much, because, you know, I'm like, let's take this time, save some money, move. But even when I do buy things, like, I'm still buying honey from independent little pea people, you know, I'm living that dream. Taking that a step further, another thing that I would like to do going forward is I would really like to prioritise reading own voices books. I just think with stuff that I already have knowledge about, I think sometimes it's very noticeable when you're reading a book that is by an own voices person versus when you're reading a book that is not by an own voices person. But equally, when I'm reading stuff that is about topics that I don't know much about, or things that I would like to learn about, or identities and stuff that are not my own, I would like to make sure that I'm prioritizing reading own voices ones, because I feel like those are the ones that are going to be giving me the most authentic and, lived experiences and stuff like that. So that's another thing going forward, just like, as well as making sure I'm doing purposeful book buying, as part of that, I want that to be like, let's prioritize reading own voices and stuff like that. Okay, onto some more specific like genres and stuff that I would like to explore a bit. This is where I'm hoping that people might be able to give me recommendations if you have any. So first up, I would like to read more translated fiction. I read like a couple of translated fiction this year. I've added a lot more translated fiction to my want to read list that I have actually consumed, and I think there is a topic about translating as an act and like being a good translator, like what exactly is a good translation, like accuracy versus also encapsulating style and making something that is actually like a good read and but still retains the original author's like intent and blah blah blah. Like there's like a whole topic around translation that is very interesting. I just realised that if you were to talk about like, translated fiction, most of my translated fiction would be like ancient classical stuff, so like ancient Greek stuff, ancient Roman stuff like that. Where I feel like I am sorely lacking is in like contemporary translated fiction, because the next aim that is linked to this is I would also like to read more globally. I do try and read books that come from all over the place, but again, more consciously so. So I also think that one way of also reading more globally is to also, read translated fiction and stuff. So like if you have any recommendations of books that you've read that are translated, or any translators that you really rate, those would all be very interesting for me to know. Some particular genres that I've been really getting into in this last year that I would like to continue to explore further, and again, these are ones which, if you have any recommendations, I would love to hear them. I mentioned middle grade. I have really been enjoying middle grade. I have done my first little I'm allowed to buy books again book buying moment, and quite a lot of those were middle grade, because I just think we're having, and I don't mean this to sound like negative against like previous middle grade book moments. I feel like we're having a really gorgeous moment in middle grade. I feel like there's some really exciting middle grade stuff coming out, exploring a lot of really exciting identities and topics and ideas and stuff like that. I just think it's a genre which is sort of like having a blossoming moment. That's not to say it's never blossomed before now. It's just like, I think partly as well I am paying more attention now that I work vaguely related to like children's publishing. Another one is non-fiction. I have been, essentially, during lockdown, I have been reading books like there's no tomorrow, because apparently I've just been avoiding coping with any of my problems and reading instead. And I've been really enjoying non-fiction. There is a siren, please go away. So I would really be interested to hear, if you're a non-fiction reader, what are some of the best non-fictions that you've read, just ever? Like, topic-wise, I've been enjoying non-fiction that is like, I always enjoy like memoirs, autobiographies. I love specifically like queer autobiographies and memoirs and stuff. I really enjoy the myriad of experiences that LGBTQIA+ people have, and I really enjoy reading autobiographies and memoirs of people who fall within that, because I don't know, it's just such a great way to learn about like individual people's journeys and what you can take from them, what sort of stuff applies to like a wider range and what sort of stuff is like very individual and stuff like that. I don't know. That's something I really enjoy. I'm just really enjoying exploring things that I don't really know anything about and just sort of being like, let's see. Before ending, just to do a brief little like, let's look back at the year. Has been a bit of a weird year. I know that we're all 2020's been weird for all of us, and like we're all in it together, and I'm not going to go into that too much because like, we've all been living it. Aside from all of the general like pandemic stuff, has also been a little bit of a tough personal year, because I won't go into it, but like there's been like family, friend, illnesses, loss, mental health stuff. Like none of this is me experiencing these things, but like people that I really love and that are very important to me going through a lot of stuff. So like it's been a challenging year, I think, on a personal note, not on like you know, there's also been some very much needed and very, very important, like, movements happening, and I don't want this to sound like I'm saying that those things are bad, because that's not what I'm doing. I'm just saying on a personal level, there's been some quite heavy topics going on that has, like, you know, these things happen, you get through them. It's just, like, been a little bit heavy at the edges. Like I said this in last birthday's video, sometimes I refer to things as times of growth, and by times of growth I mean times that are really quite challenging when you're in them, but then you get out of them and you look back and you see how much you've grown and you see what you've taken from this, and you go forward and you're better equipped to deal with things in the future and stuff like that. I think this year has been a little bit of a time of growth, but there have also been some really fantastic highs. My dad said this thing when I talked to him last, and he said that 2020 has been how low can you go, but 2021 is going to be how high can you fly. And I really like that, and I'm channeling that, because to be honest with you, I find it a little bit hard to set too many life goals, because if I get through this year, I'm taking it as a win. Because, you know, there's an awful lot happening, and I think there's been this great pressure for people to be, like, really productive with this time and that sort of thing. Personally, like, I'm just doing, like, can I get through it? Can I support my loved ones through it? If we're doing that, then we're grand, and we've achieved, and that sort of thing. So, like, you know, we'll see what happens. I no longer know how to predict anything. I'm not going to set myself, like, too many life goals, but I would like to say that one thing I've really enjoyed this last year is I've really enjoyed BookTube, and I feel like I have gotten to know people a little bit more. I don't know, I always feel like I'm like a little at the edge, like a little flitting fairy who's just like, hello, and every now and then I, like, throw some comments on other people's videos, and then I, like, flit away again and, like, ramble to myself in front of a bookcase. You know, I don't know, the internet's weird sometimes. I would just like to say, like, I've been making BookTube videos for quite a few years now. Like, I haven't really grown that much the channel. Apart from this last year, I suddenly have started to grow, which is a little bit weird in some ways, because I feel like I've kind of got used to just, like, talking to, like, the same, like, 3 people, and those 3 people are lovely and I value them deeply. And now having more people around, I'm just like, hello, everyone. And it's a little bit weird. But I really appreciate it, and I really value it, and I really value, like, the way that having this channel allows me to, like, chat to more people and expand my horizons and all of these sorts of things. It means an awful lot to me, and I don't know, I feel like I've made some really nice friends, and I really appreciate all the goodness that doing this brings into my life. A goal I forgot to say, I have slightly been a bit shoddy on closed captioning my videos lately. Slightly because I have not been uploading my videos far enough in advance, because my internet upload speed has been horrendous. I have new internet now. I'm actually able to upload things in, like, 10 minutes rather than, like, 3 hours. So we're making progress. One thing that I would like to say is I am going to try and caption all of my videos before they go live. I'm very sorry for the delay. I am also going to hopefully work on the backlog. I was thinking about maybe if I could get in contact, like, I know some people, like, you can pay them and they will caption your videos for you, but I don't make any money on this, so I don't know about that. I'll look at it. But suffice to say, just wanted to end on a little thank you note, I think. I'm going to end here because I feel like we're just babbling and really falling down a small little tumbly hole. Suffice to say, it's been a year. I've had a really nice birthday. I feel very loved having a birthday when you're also still not prepared to, like, go into, like, restaurants and stuff has been a bit interesting, but my friends have really, like, come out and surprised me with nice, like, outdoor meetups, and it's been really nice, and I feel very loved and valued, and I would like to put that back out into the universe, like to like, you know. But yes, I just want to say I hope you're having a lovely day. I hope everything is alright for you. I would love to know, I always ask this, but I always find the responses interesting. Are you a goals person? Do you set yourself goals? If you do, like, do you have any goals on the go? Or do you just not find that helpful at all? Otherwise, I'd love to hear any recommendations or thoughts you have in the comments down below, and I will see you next time for something hopefully a little bit more concise.